We all want to believe in something. In Chinese, belief also means trust. We want to trust our systems and each other so we can build a future beyond what we know. Join us at Consensus Hong Kong, where belief becomes real.
Hello and welcome to Markets Daily, hosted by me, Jen Sanasi. Today is a very special show where my colleague Sam Ewan joins me to co-host an episode based on blockchain for good. Sam, hello.
Jen, so good to see you. It's an exciting conversation that we're about to have. I really have a lot of respect for what both of these groups are doing. I'm excited to get into it. And I think more people should be focused on how blockchain can create good in the world.
I completely agree with you. I mean, even on this show, we focus so often on the financial aspects of this industry, a little bit on like the casino vibe of this industry, but there's so much happening that makes this world we live in more sustainable. It opens up opportunities for folks. I think there's just so much happening behind the scenes that we don't often shine a spotlight on. And so that's what we're doing today. I want to introduce our guests. We have ValuesCo CEO Andrew Berkowitz joining us and Rainforest Foundation US Executive Director Suzanne Pelletier. Hello to you both.
Hi, Jen.
Hi,
Great
Jen.
to be here.
Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here. Like Sam and I just mentioned, really excited to dive deep into what you're both working on, put a little bit more of a human element to this thing we talk about so often. Suzanne, I want to kick it off to you first. Tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about how crypto kind of comes into the fold. Just kind of lay a foundation for us.
Well, we've been trying to figure that out for about 10 years as an organization. As an organization, we work on forest protection with indigenous people, so not in this space at all. And about 10 years ago, we started working with a couple of volunteers thinking, hey, maybe there's a way that we can integrate blockchain with trying to raise funds for forest protection and our work. We were really seeing there's like crazy urgency to what we do, but the money just wasn't there. It wasn't fast enough, and typical philanthropy wasn't doing it. So we created a coin actually 10 years ago to try to and launched it. And the idea was we had been around for 25 years, like maybe this coin could be a way that we could fund our work for the next 25 years. And it didn't end up working for a lot of reasons. And I think it was just a bit too early in what we tried to do. And we didn't build a community. We didn't know how to build a community around it. But it opened our eyes to the idea that, blockchain could be used for some sort of social good and to support nonprofits. So we've been engaged with several NFT projects along the way. And most recently, we decided that instead of launching our own coin, which didn't really make sense for us, why not develop? We were inspired by looking at companies like MicroStrategy that was building a treasury with Bitcoin and thought this makes sense for us to use this asset that's appreciating to support our work for the future.
A lot that I think both Sam and I want to dig into there. But Andrew, I want to give you just a second to do the exact same for ValuesCo. Talk to us about what you're building and how that is enabling creators to connect to all sorts of different organizations and folks.
Yeah, 100%. So we started this company back in the kind of, I'm sure everyone has really fond memories of DeFi summer back in 2020. Those were really good times. Now is kind of the first narrative shift around NFTs and social token really come into the mainstream. And so we really started back then with the vision of how can we leverage this new asset, specifically social tokens, as a way to, yes, connect creators with their fans, but to kind of incentivize positive action from their audiences. And what we learned over the years is what's necessary in that type of dynamic is a much more collaborative approach. And so we actually expanded well beyond that into how do we bring brands, nonprofits, creators, publishers, and audiences all together, each contributing different unique things to the mix in order to create rewards ecosystems for good. And a lot of times in blockchain, when we talk about this conversation of blockchain for good, the conversation is almost entirely around, make money and then donate to a nonprofit. And that's kind of the extent of the conversation. But I think the missing piece in that, and a really important one that doesn't get discussed about, is actually how can we incentivize positive action and kind of create new economic systems that aren't just decentralized, aren't just sovereign, but are really thinking of like, this kind of X to earn concept. How can we reinvent value and mediums of exchange between individuals and organizations to be incentivizing positive kind of grassroots action towards a better world?
Andrew, I want to ask you a question about that, because we've seen recently with the rise of the Trump token that it really is kind of a share of attention more than anything else. It's a top 30 coin at the moment. It is the kind of thing that people, I think, are buying because they want to be aligned with an ideology. And I actually look at those things as attention is the kind of currency of today. And I think what you're building with a social network that rewards that attention is very current in the kind of macro how people are communicating. But on TikTok and on Instagram, they're just giving the value of that to the major platforms. So what is it that makes ValuesCo different in a world where attention is kind of the way that we exchange back and forth value?
Yeah, totally. So like the whole kind of meme coin meta is what you said. It's the financialization of internet-based attention. And that's a very loose concept that really is, we can, as an industry, we can kind of take that in any direction that we want to. We can take it in the direction of creator tokens. We can take it into the direction of turning every famous internet meme into a stock. But a more beautiful world would look like, hey, whether it's like you're super passionate about helping LA in the wake of the fires. Well, if there's a ton of attention there, why not create a coin based on that people can earn by supporting? And people can, we can still have the same kind of degen mechanisms built into it. But this idea of like having a financial mechanism to guide attention towards good things in the world, that's the kind of like foundational elements for how we can create currencies that are really new economic systems incentivizing more positive behavior. Because I think things like Trump coin, degen culture is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to speculate on these things in group chats with your friends. Does it bring the best out of people? Probably not. I don't really think it does. And so it's kind of day one or ground zero for us to decide very intentionally as an industry, where do we want to take this? And do we just want this to be a PvP? At some point, you're going to use other people as exit liquidity and move on, which is exactly what's happening in meme coins, even if some are, quote unquote, more sustainable than, or, more long lasting than others. So there's the kind of Web3 component. And then, as you mentioned, there's like the social media component, which is the reality of Web2 social media was optimized for attention, but optimized in a way of bringing attention to the table through negativity and kind of manipulating human emotion that maybe is sometimes positive, but generally is something that's kind of, as plenty of people said, kind of tearing at the fabric of reality. And so how can we rethink that, leverage emotion, leverage love, leverage gratitude, these emotions that are more positive, and create a different type of social feed that can connect people through the positive emotions? And that's really, I think, that the context switch. And there's a lot of aspects of Web3 that enhances the gamification and enables us to do that in a really effective way.
I want to talk a little bit more about incentives. And Suzanne, I want to pull you into the conversation here. I think this all sounds great, right? But it's that user behavior that so many organizations like this are looking to change. We talk about the negative experience on social media, but I think the reality is we're all addicted to it anyways. And Suzanne, you talked about launching a token that didn't really work for the organization. Now you're looking to grow a treasury of 100 Bitcoin. Talk to me about how you are educating the people that you engage with to get that Bitcoin to get into the treasury. What have you learned from that token not really taking off? And because of this shift that needs to happen, is it really a crypto native audience that you're focused on, both of you, as you're trying to get more eyeballs? Suzanne, I'll kick it off to you first.
Sure. With the Bitcoin treasury, we're definitely looking at the crypto community, because I think that, we have this new not innovation, but this new movement for looking at Bitcoin as an asset, and as a hedge against inflation. And it's really relevant on the nonprofit side. We try to keep 6 months of operating cash as an organization for our financial health, but that's doing nothing for us. We're getting no return on it. With dollar debasement and inflation, we're losing money. People are donating to us, and then the money, the cash that they're donating is losing value. So I think that, it appeals to non-crypto. I think that concept can appeal to a non-crypto audience. But the reality is it's the crypto audience that I think really is buying into this and hopefully holds the Bitcoin right now. And so we'll see this as just another use case for this, the appreciating asset. I also wanted to talk about, we are getting involved in meme coins as well. There is a meme coin, and but it's positive. It's before, when I said the coin that we created didn't have a community, and I think that's really important. And so on a nonprofit side, yes, if there can be a coin or a token that incentivizes behavior, like what Andrew was talking about, that's fantastic. One of the behaviors can be giving. And so we've been involved in this project that's actually an AI agent that has a community. The crypto community has come around. It's called SAN, Sentient Advocate of Nature. And through that community, wanted to do something good and wanted to support the type of things that this AI agent was espousing and trying to put forward. And so this crypto meme coin community came together to create a forest coin that then is being used to donate to organizations like ours. So I think that's a good example of where these communities can come together, incentivizing action, supporting nonprofits.
Suzanne,
Are other nonprofits coming to you and wondering how you're doing this? It seems like very forward thinking for a nonprofit.
I don't think we're communicating very well what we're doing. So I'm glad I'm here being able to talk to you, and hopefully other people will hear.
Suzanne, I do want to ask you one question, though. And I think in some respects, this also applies very much to ValuesCo. But I think specifically with what you're doing with the Rainforest Foundation is you're specifically asking for a Bitcoin treasury. You want to raise 100 Bitcoin. I understand very much the idea of appreciation, and I think you're 100% right. You could be making more money in USDC just with the return than you're making in your bank today. But imagine what you could do with Bitcoin, considering the potential appreciation you have there. But I do think there's still a perception out there, even though I think we all believe that most of the energy in Bitcoin mining is going green. There's still a perception that it's a big energy suck, and I think people look at it as anti-environmental. So how do you talk to your potential donors when they say, "Hey, you're supporting a technology which is really heating the planet, and yet you want to be here saving the environment"? What's your line to them?
It's just educating people about the energy mix that is being used in Bitcoin, showing progress over the past few years. So it's just an education. It's kind of interesting. No one is asking us about, do you use AI in your work? And, what's the energy use of that? So we're just trying to educate people of the realities.
And Andrew, I guess, is similarly, when you're trying to get people involved in action, I still hear from my child who's 23 years old, "Oh, aren't you guys, destroying the planet through crypto?" So a lot of young people that are probably coming at your social network are probably wondering around the idea of, is crypto really green?
Yeah. I mean, we actually haven't had too much pushback on that. We did in the early days back when I actually remember there was a vibe shift. There was one headline that came out around the energy usage of NFTs, and then everyone's talking points came out. And, it's very difficult to spend enough time thinking to develop your own original thoughts. It's pretty easy to just look at a headline and just have talking points that you can go around with. And so, look, the reality is everything we do on the internet uses energy, and there's enough important things that blockchain is introducing compared to the old system, that is totally worth it. And with things like moving from proof of work to proof of stake, the reality is these things evolve over time, and they get better, they get more efficient.
I want to go back to my question that I posed, Andrew, to you and Suzanne, but only Suzanne got to answer it. How do you think about changing that user behavior, right? Because I open up my phone, I go on the regular social apps. How do you think about getting users away from that and into this new ecosystem? That, I mean, I've gone through some of your documents. I did a lot of research before the show. It seems like such a more fulfilling ecosystem to be a part of, but that user behavior is something that is not an easy task to tackle.
Totally. I mean, the world is ruled by habit, and we all kind of have our own kind of habitual, momentum that we built into our own lives, and very hard to change those things, which is okay, because, there's, it's like this concept of like, you can wield power for good or for evil, but it will be wielded by somebody. And so you might as well try to step up for the good. And so for us, and how we're thinking about a social network is, it's really kind of leveraging, gamification and rewards and kind of first principles of some of the mechanisms that some of these older kind of Web 2 era social media companies were using to, kind of do the same things, but ensure that what is being prompted, or the dopamine hit that a user is getting, is prompting a good action. So we have things like, doing a 15-minute meditation to earn some rewards, right? So that's something that you still get the same exact kind of dopamine hit with the notification, the reward, but it's an action that is, just ever so slightly building new habits towards good in your own life. And so that's kind of, first principles of how we're thinking about things. And again, doing this on the blockchain enables us to introduce different dynamics of gamification that weren't really possible in the previous era of social.
I guess, how are people going to find you guys? We got to wrap up now, but I want to make sure that people listening know where to read about both what ValuesCo is doing and Rainforest Foundation. So Suzanne, what's the best way for people to get involved with Rainforest Foundation?
You just go to our website, rainforestfoundation.org, and you can find out information about both what we're doing and as well as the reserve and our other projects in crypto.
And Andrew?
Yeah, and for us, we actually just this past week announced kind of a reimagining of ourselves from ValuesCo to Values Network, and did it in partnership with Aptos Labs and Project Liberty. So that release went out last Friday, and our new website is live at values.network.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us. Sam, thanks for joining as my co-host. Awesome. And thank you to our audience for watching Markets Daily, for listening to Markets Daily. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to the CoinDesk Podcast Network. That is on all podcast platforms. If you prefer to watch us, we are on YouTube. Hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.